I don't think that Harry has always been of the opinion, although of course we know he's undergoing therapy and has for many years and is haunted by the death of his mother. This is unquestioned. But he's always regarded the military as an extended family, and said from time to time he's paid tribute to it. Invictus is one of the things he's given back, clearly, because it helps wounded service personnel. I think that he believes that the military was a pivotal part in his life. So obviously, when appropriate, he wears his medals, and obviously that is assuming that, I mean, this has been a subject of controversy before. Of course, what did he wear at the coronation? What was he allowed to wear? Debates about this, the Queen's funeral, and so forth. I mean, he isn't a senior working royal, and there are rules on this. Equally, there's no doubt the Sussexes found royal rules very constricting. I think there's no doubt that Harry is proud of his medals, and it's part of his past that he is proud of. There are those who would comment that a lot of his past, he was brought up, after all, to be a loyal member of the royal family, and that he has not been in the last 4 years because he and Meghan have done a lot of damage to the royal family in their attacks. But I mean, obviously his medals are something special to him, and obviously he's earned them. Equally, it would, I thought, have been a nice touch had he worn the coronation medal to which he's entitled. If you look at the medals that Harry chose to wear, what you don't find is the coronation medal, and that, I think, is extraordinary. And especially since he's, after all, knows perfectly well the Sussexes are well aware that every single thing they do, everything they wear, everything they say, it's all going to be examined. And I mean, this has happened before when he hasn't worn the coronation medal, but if you consider that he's almost certainly coming over for the service at St. Paul's about the remarkable Invictus Games, he knows everyone will be looking to see what he wears. And if he has his campaign medals from Afghanistan, absolutely fair enough. The problem is that if he chooses not to wear the coronation medal, it will, certainly by some, be seen as a snub to King Charles. Now, obviously, I would assume that he must be visiting his father when he's over for the Invictus service. And again, we don't know whether anyone is accompanying him and so forth, and that there's security issues. I'm sure that those will be solved, obviously, for an event like this. But it is very odd that he doesn't. Equally, I mean, you could argue that one is a token medal. I think 400,000 were given out. So his campaign medals obviously are very special to him. He had 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan, though he was very unwise to list the number of Taliban he personally took out in the second tour of duty in spare. However, it's obviously a personal choice, but he must be aware that some people will interpret it as a snub to King Charles. There's little doubt that Meghan and Harry are raising Archie and Lily in very much the same way as in the United States, is very much the same way as they would here, because obviously you get an occasional photograph and you get an obsession, and quite rightly, with privacy. Also, you're dealing with very young people. So far as the rather extraordinary circumstances in which Archie and Lily find themselves, the fact that they are being raised in the United States, and yet, of course, have obvious links to Britain. And obviously, the British royal family. I mean, whether one day they choose to use their titles, how this works out in future years, I mean, we simply can't tell. What we do know is there will be enormous media speculation about anything they do that we know of. And there's also the speculation of, would they visit the United Kingdom? Are the security issues such that Harry would be happy that they did? And indeed, would Meghan, because Meghan is extremely unpopular, and that does feed into the narrative which is linked to their children, because it's most unlikely that they would come without their mother. And if Meghan comes, she knows very well she's firstly got a hostile press. Secondly, there's the rift with the royal family. This doesn't bode well. It's impossible to see how, until and unless, and we'd only know this and very, very gradually, privately, if it happens, things will gestate. But I mean, this is something that we're looking at quite a long period of time, certainly with reference to William. And again, it depends what you hear and read, all the rumors about this. People I don't think really know. Also, Archie and Lily, of course, there'll be fascination with the way they grow up and what they decide to do and so on. But again, we're looking at periods in the future where there's no precedent for this. As a result, there'll be more fascination. Also, the United States, I mean, they may very well prove to be extremely popular, but their parents aren't. And this is a big change from what it was, say, at the time when they gave the interview on Oprah, which proved to be so damaging. So it is simply, as Archie has a birthday, and as we wish him happy birthday, I think that his parents have certainly, in the way that things are working out, at least at the moment, have arranged a very unorthodox future for him. The point is, it's a balance between Harry raising them as royals and Meghan raising them as Americans, and both Harry and Meghan feeling bitter towards the royal family still, which is still pretty obvious, though the situation may change and almost can change things, and we know that things are very sensitive. Equally, I mean, with this unorthodox balance, you might find that they will have various choices, and they will be able to choose whether they want titles, because that's what they're offered. Their parents, on the other hand, though they have titles, can't use them, although they use Duke and Duchess. And then, of course, there are possible questions about Harry's future and his visa application and so forth, but I don't believe that's going to get anywhere, and it certainly won't get anywhere during President Biden's presidency. But you have got an upbringing which is unorthodox to the rest of the world, but it's worthwhile remembering that for Archie and Lily, who've never known anything else, it won't be so unorthodox. But the choices that they make in later life will, and you're looking, of course, at if they do choose to use royal titles, the interest, as Beatrice and Eugenie have found, for example, in Britain. I mean, you have an enormous interest in every single thing they do. On the other hand, they could opt to something low-key, quieter, you could say more American. But because their parents are so high-profile and are so ambitious, whether or not, I wouldn't call Harry and Meghan among the world's top 100, as Time did some 3 years or so ago, because they're obviously not. If you look at the endorsements, if you look at the jobs they've got, I mean, they're far more active now than they were 6 months ago. But this isn't A-list staff. So it's a question of what Archie and Lily want for themselves, how they grow up, their particular interests, but also how the rift of the royal family. Is it going to be mended? Isn't it? If it is mended, then you'll see a great deal more, I would have thought, of their interaction with their cousins in the royal family. If not, well, obviously you won't.